Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's May 13th, 2021 virtual hearing. If you take your eyes to the PowerPoint, I'm about to go over how things are going to run today. My name is Nicholas Blendy. I'm the Deputy Executive Secretary for the agency, and as you can see in the packet, we are running today on the WebEx platform, this virtual hearing, as is our current custom and tradition in the pandemic world. I will now go through the PowerPoint. WebEx is what the Board of Estimates, the Council, and Planning have been using for virtual meetings since the outbreak of COVID-19. To fully utilize WebEx, members should have access to a laptop, an iPad, a smartphone, or a similar smart device that has a camera and microphone capabilities. And if your device doesn't have microphone capabilities, you'll need to use the dial-in number at the bottom there in order to be able to hear and participate and be heard. In order to participate, a member of the public will either have to download the WebEx app through their device and click on the link, or you could dial in and access as you see below. And obviously, we have hoped that you would have done that before 11 a.m. today, because everything likes to update. Today's docket is the May 13th docket. It's available on our website under that hyperlink for today's date. The 48-hour rule for evidence for online hearings is a thing the board has adopted and been following since the virtual hearings have commenced due to the pandemic. So all evidence that needed to have been submitted from any party would have had to have been received by 11 a.m. Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. If anything is submitted after that, it cannot be considered by the board. All evidence goes to our Assistant Executive Secretary, Ms. Stacy Russell, and we do not accept documents in person as we remain closed to the general public. No amendments to any applications could have been accepted after April 29th for any case to be heard today. And in addition, all attendees at today's hearings should have received a letter in addition to any electronic notice. I'm reading the instructions and the ground rules for today's hearing. I will be calling the case in order as listed on the docket. I will then ask for the applicant and his or her representative to identify themselves, and if applicable, have the applicant and any witnesses be sworn in by our court reporter. The board will provide an opportunity for the applicant and his or her representative to be heard and present their case to the board, and the board may ask questions of the attorney or their applicant. Upon the conclusion of the case, the chairman will ask individuals who are on the call and have access to the necessary technology if they would like to testify in support or in opposition to an application. If an individual would like to testify, then he or she will have to use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx. And I will then let the chairman know that there is someone who wishes to testify, and then you will have to be sworn in because all testimony is done under oath. After all testimony and evidence is presented to the board will vote on the application before them. Our Assistant Executive Secretary will then read the exhibits into the record. And as always, the board was sitting in its quasi-judicial capacity, can only hear matters before it on the docket today, cannot discuss any non-case related matters. And this is for the regular docket. I'll step back to say for attendees and members of the public, today we have a mixed docket. The first two items are on the regular docket and deal with new applications and applications to transfer. And then the second half of the docket is a violations docket, which I've now moved the slide to. There are two items on that. Copies of the short docket, which provide a brief description of the cases before the board, and the long docket for the violation, which includes all the materials, can also be found on our website under today's date. Similarly, a 48-hour rule is in effect for that. And then we had asked any licensee to make every effort to provide any documents that they plan to submit today by that Tuesday, May 11th deadline. And any attempt to add some additional evidence that the board is not prepared for may lead to a postponement of your case. And in addition to the posting of today's docket online, licensees, witnesses, and their representatives shall have been served with all notices required by law. And procedures for the violations docket, I will read the preliminary instructions and the general ground rules for the hearing. I'll call those two cases in order. Then the board will conduct, when I call the case, an evidentiary hearing. That can include calling of witnesses, hearing of testimony, and reviewing of any documents entered into the record to determine whether or not a violation occurred. Upon the conclusion of the hearing, which can include closing arguments by the licensee and or his representative, the board will vote to determine whether or not a violation occurred. If the board finds that a violation occurred, the board can hear testimony or review any additional evidence before imposing a sentence. The board will then provide an opportunity to the general public to present testimony at the mitigation phase. And again, similarly to the previous instructions, if you would like to testify and be heard on a specific matter in the violations, I will ask you to use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform, and then you can identify yourself, be sworn in, and then testify. All individuals, of course, are subject to questioning by the board and also potentially cross-examination by the attorney or the applicant. And if you have access only to a phone and not a video device, you will not be allowed to testify at that time. Upon hearing all of the evidence and testimony from the mitigation phase, the board will then make a sentencing determination, which could include a fine, suspension, or even revocation of the license. General ground rules, we ask that you please mute yourself when you're not speaking to minimize feedback and extra noise. Please clearly identify yourself and state your name and spelling of your name before you speak so that our court reporter can understand who is speaking, what is saying, and who is saying it. For all of the attendees, this event is running live on Charm TV, and our court reporter is present and taking the record. Any individual who uses profanity, is disrespectful, or is unruly may be expelled from today's hearing. All attendees who, applicants, licensees, and members of the public who wish to provide testimony must be sworn, as I stated before. No physical evidence is taken to today's proceeding and no amendments to any applications. We ask that you stay present, are in a good location with good internet connection that is quiet so you can be heard, and please don't multitask so that you're ready when the case is called. And above all, please be patient with us and with everyone else as we conduct this virtual hearing. With that said, the short docket is up on the screen. The first two items are the regular items, as I stated, then two violations. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, let's proceed.
All right. The first item on today's regular docket is applicant Trevor Scott Ivan White, Tayon Veras Everidge, and Derek Reginald Smith for Remix Bar and Grill LLC, trading as Remix Bar and Grill, 819 East Pratt Street, 21202. This is an application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license, including requests of outdoor service, off-premise catering, and delivery of alcoholic beverages. And the board is rehearing this matter concerning an issue that was identified during the issuance process. Ms. Schreckengast is counsel, and I'm moving her in, and I see Mr. White is here, and I'm moving him into the panel. Everyone should be in the room, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Why don't we swear Mr. White? First of all, counsel, will you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, good morning. Leanne Schreckengast with Royston, Muller, McLean, and Reed here on behalf of the applicants.
Good morning. And let's swear Mr. White.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you able to turn on your video?
Yes, yep, I believe I just did. Yep.
Okay, yes, I can see you. Okay, please raise your right hand. Thanks. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God or under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Schreckengast.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This matter was originally heard back on March 25th, and the license was approved by the board. As Mr. Blendy indicated, we were advised on April 28th that there was an issue with Mr. White's background check. A corrected page 2 to the application with an amended answer to question 3 was submitted at that time. Mr. White had an issue in Pennsylvania in 2005, And his quote to me was, "Wow, that was back in 2005. I didn't even know that was still on my record, nor do I think it was an issue the last time I applied for a liquor license. This was a complete oversight on my part." So obviously this was not done intentionally. He completely forgot about it. And so we would ask that the board approve the license with this correction to the application.
I'm assuming there have been no further issues since 2005?
Mr. White, is that correct?
That is correct. No, there has not been any issues. No.
Okay. And everything else was approved on March 25.
That is correct.
Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions.
Do we have public comment, Mr. Blendy?
If any member, excuse me, if any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any member of the public who wishes to testify.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Streckengass. On the basis then of your proffer and testimony from your client with respect to the amended application, and on the basis of the findings that we made at the hearing on March 25, 2021 with respect to this application, I would vote to approve the amended application. Commissioners?
Commissioner Guy, based upon the testimony and the evidence presented to the board this morning, I also would vote to approve the application for the new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license, requesting outdoor table service and off-premises catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Based upon the proffer and the testimony of Mr. White, I too find that this is not a material change in the application. This was just an oversight on Mr. White's part, and would approve this application, amended application, consistent with our decision of March 25th.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Streck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members and applicant. The board will follow up with written instructions on how to proceed in obtaining your license.
Thank you very much, all.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Chair, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, let's go to the second case.
The second item on the regular docket today is applicants Herman Bahina Torres and Robert Cook, Obsession Bar LLC, trading as Obsession Bar at 701 South Curly Street, 21224. Applicant is applying to transfer ownership of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. And similarly, board is being asked to rehear this matter concerning an issue identified during the issuance process. Applicant is represented by Mr. Kadensky, who I am moving into the panel now. Mr. Kadensky is in the room, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Kadensky, would you identify yourself for the record, please?
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the applicant in this case.
And which applicant is that?
Mr. Torres?
Okay. Do you want to make a proffer?
Yeah, yes, I would. Similarly, as Ms. Schreckengass eloquently pointed out, this was an oversight. Mr. Torres, he had an issue back in 2006, which was a ex parte protective order on a domestic situation that had been, quite frankly, he thought was more of a civil matter than it was a criminal matter. However, due to the fact that he wasn't served with the papers and then showed up again, they deemed it a violation of the protective order. But there's been no further incidents of that course, and quite frankly, he didn't realize that it was a matter that should be disclosed under the criminal section of the application.
And why was he violated for the protective order?
Well, it was a protective order that apparently, for what he tells me, is he was never served with the papers. However, it was a boyfriend-girlfriend thing, and he apparently came back when saw the girlfriend, and then there was a violation of the order at that point.
Okay. So it was contact after the initial order was issued.
After the
Okay.
ex parte, correct.
All right, and he's had no problems since that time?
No problems, and he's ready to get back in business here.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
I have none.
No questions.
Do we have public testimony, Mr. Bundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any member of the public who wishes to testify.
And what was the date of the hearing when we approved this initially?
I think it was October.
October of last year?
I think October the 10th, as I'm reading. October 15th, 2020.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, on the basis then of all the materials that are contained in this amended application, the proffer from council, on the basis of the findings that we made at that October 15, 2020 hearing with respect to approving the application to transfer this BD7 license, I would make a finding as correctly Commissioner Greenfield did last time that this is not a material change in the application, and I would vote to approve the amended application for transfer of this license. Commissioners?
Commissioner Guy. Based upon the testimony and the proffer of Mr. Kudinski, I would also vote to approve the application to transfer ownership.
Based upon the proffer of Mr. Kandinsky, I too would find that this is a non-material change in the amended application, and would continue to move forward on the approval of the transfer of ownership from October 15th of 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Kudinski.
All right, thank you very much.
That concludes this matter before the board today. Applicant and council will receive follow-up instructions via mail on how to obtain your license.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, are you ready to move to the violations docket?
Yes.
Okay. The first item on the violations docket before the board today is licensee Donald Savoy, Don West Management Services LLC, trading as Indulge Nightclub, 403 to 05 East Baltimore Street, 21202. Licensee holds a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and a Class AE adult entertainment license, and is charged with the following violations of rules. Violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on their liquor license dated January 29th, 2021. Violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, for an incident dated the same January 29th, 2021, and that's 3.12 of the liquor license regulations. Violation of Rule 4.18, alterations of the liquor license regulations from same incident, January 29th, 2021. And then violations of adult entertainment licenses, Rule 3.01, hours of operation from an incident dated January 29th, 2021. Violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.05, incorporation of liquor license rules and regulations to applicable licenses, same date, January 29th, 2021. Violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.18, illegal conduct and codes compliance, January 29th, 2021. Violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.19, alterations, January 29th, 2021. Licensee is represented by Mr. Fogelman, who I have now moved into the panel. Witnesses for the alleging the violations are BLLC Inspector Robinson, Chief Chris Amalis and members of BPD Vice, which includes, I believe, just Detective Greenhill is the sorry there, Commissioner, I made you a detective for a second. Detective Greenhill, who is all in the room. Everyone should be available now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Spiegelman, identify yourself for the record, please.
Inspector Walter Robinson.
Let's begin
Good
with
morning.
counsel.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the licensee Donald Savoy, who's here in my office with me.
And are these going to be admissions or denials, Mr. Fogelman?
These will be admissions in part. We'll admit Rule 4.18. We'll admit Rule 3.01. We'll admit Adult Entertainment Rule 3.19 and denials to the rest.
Okay, and who's going to be testifying, Mr. Savoy?
Yes, just Mr. Savoy.
All right, and let's swear Mr. Savoy and Inspectors Robinson, Chris Miles, and Detective Greenhill, please.
Okay. Please raise your right hands. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury? And please state your name before your response.
Inspector Walter Robinson. I do.
I do, Chief Chris Miles.
Detective L.C. Greenhill, I do.
Okay. And Mr. Savoy?
Donald Savoy, I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Fogelman, just to clarify again, you said that you were admitting to the violation of Rule 4.18 on January 29, is that right?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. That's
and
correct.
Then, also 3.01 Adult Entertainment Rule?
Yes, indeed. And same with 3.19 Adult Entertainment. And that is all.
Okay. Well, let's begin with testimony. Okay. Who's going to lead off for the liquor board?
Should be Inspector Robinson.
Okay. Inspector, if you would tell us what happened on January 29, please.
On January 29, 2021, at approximately 10:43, I, Inspector Robinson, Chief Inspector John Christomalis, and the Social Club Task Force conducted an investigation at Indulge Nightclub located on 403-05 East Baltimore Street. Social Club Task Force was comprised by members of Baltimore City Liquor Board, Housing Department, Health, and Police Department. Detectives Gatto and Greenhill represented the Police Department. Upon arrival to the establishment, Chief Inspector Chris Amalis and I went to the side entrance, which leads to an underground door. We attempted to gain entry through this door, but the door was locked. Chief Chris Amalis knocked on the side door for approximately 5 minutes, but got no answer. While at this door, you could hear patrons talking and music being played. Detectives Gatto and Greenhill went to the front door. Detective Gatto informed Chief Chris Amalis that the front door was also locked. While checking the front door for a second time, Detective Gatto saw security officers escorting several male patrons up the stairs to the front of the front door of the club. The security officer unlocked the door and let the male patrons out. Detective Gatto informed Chief Chris Amalis and I of what he saw and then entered the club. Chief Chris Amalis and I followed behind. Upon entry into the club, we counted approximately 8 male patrons and approximately 10 female dancers. While conducting our investigation, Chief Chris Amalis found a white male and a white female inside a 4x4 private room. The female was blocking the doorway with her body, yet we could still see a male adjusting his waistband area in a hurry. I was standing beside Chief Chris Amalis when this happened. Chief Chris Amalis communicated with Detective Gatto about what he observed. Detective Gatto spoke with the night manager, who identified herself as Carmelita Malone. She informed Detective Gatto that she was unaware that her dancer was inside the private room with a male patron. At this time, the nightclub was emptied of all patrons and all dancers were asked to leave. Let's see. Detective Greenhill took down notes of all the establishment paperwork and licenses. Chief Inspector also noticed alterations were made to the establishment without the board's approval. Ms. Malone was advised by Chief Chris Amalis that the nightclub was in violation of the mayor's executive order that went into effect on 1-22-21. The establishment was open past 10 p.m. and lap dances were taking place. Ms. Malone was also advised that the alterations that were made were in violation of the liquor board's rules and regulations. Social Club Task Force left without any further incident.
Mr. Fogelman, you have questions for Inspector Robinson?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. Do you wish to present testimony?
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Savoy, you are the owner and manager of Indulge Nightclub?
Yes.
All right. And did you make some alterations with the board? I mean, with the bar?
There were some made on the rear side of the club.
And how far did you move the bar from its?
Sorry, would he be able to speak up louder? It's not coming in
much louder.
Yes, there were alterations made on the rear side of the bar. We had moved the bar approximately 8 feet from the corner to pretty much like the middle section.
All right, and you moved the stage about 10 feet?
Correct. The stage used to be on the side. We put that behind the bar.
All right. You found out the hard way that you needed to pull a permit for this, right?
That's correct.
All right. In fact, you were fined $500 by the city?
That's correct.
All right. Once you paid that $500, did you think that was the end of it?
I did.
All right. You were not aware that you needed to write a letter to the liquor board?
That's correct.
Okay. On January 29th, was that the first day of reopening for the club since November?
Yes. I think clubs were able to open up before that, but we opened up on that Friday.
Okay.
Lisa had offered to open it up. I couldn't be there because I didn't have a babysitter.
And Lisa is Carmelita Malone?
That's correct.
Okay. What were your instructions to Miss Malone as far as that evening went?
I told her just make sure basic alcohol sales. We were not allowed to have dancers on the stage or anything private. They could just do sitters, which are, just like sitting there. They could talk to customers and drink, and that's it.
All right. And before COVID, during normal times, when is your last call?
Last call is usually 1:40. We do about 20 minutes before we have to absolutely clear out the building.
All right, do you have any reason why last call was not done at 9:40 on this particular day?
I'm not sure, but when I talked to Lisa, she said that they locked the door 10 minutes to 10 to stop people from coming in. So that way they would be able to clear it out. But I think they just did a poor job of evacuating everybody.
All right, and as far as the employee who was apparently in a closet, what happened to her?
Well, that employee, I've never met her. I think that might have been her first time working there. But when I found out that she was actually in that private room, I instructed Lisa to let that girl go.
All right, and did you include instructions about lap dances?
The lap dances were not to be done. They were supposed to be no adult entertainment whatsoever.
Right. And what is your capacity?
The full capacity is 155.
All right, and so that would be at 25% would be 38 people.
Correct.
All right, so when you found out about this, what did you do? What happened to Lisa Malone, Carmelita Malone?
I met with Lisa, and I told her that was unacceptable. She did receive a suspension, and we actually had another meeting after that. Once we, went back to 2 a.m. close time, and I told her that she needed to be very careful with these, people going in and out of the other side of the club, because I wasn't sure what was supposed to happen over there since we had received that violation for the alteration.
Well, a lot of your employees didn't come back after the shutdown, isn't that right?
That's correct.
All right, and so who came back?
Lisa, we had Lisa and one other girl, Marie, that were my bartenders, but Marie she's fairly new. Lisa's pretty much like my veteran bartender.
And rather than fire her, you say you suspended her, and hopefully this is a learning experience for her.
That's correct.
Yeah. You wish you'd been there that night?
Yes.
All right. What is your current security there?
Right now, you know, we have about 2 security guards, and I myself been there almost every single day since this incident has happened.
All right. Thank you. You know, you understand that this can't happen again, that you can't operate after hours.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes.
All right. And there's just no way around it. And you are able to do that normally with a last call prior to closing, right?
Yeah.
All right. Do you think that any of these problems will manifest themselves at your club again?
No, I hope not.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's, Mr. Spiegelman, let's go through these violations and see what we've established, okay?
Sure.
Oh, the 4.16 is based on the violation of the executive orders and being in operation after 10 p.m. Do you want to be heard on that?
Well, yeah, and he is clearly responsible on that. This was just, I see it as an opportunity for try to get some of your employees paid who have been out of work for months and months. But it sounds like there was just a little too much over exuberance. There was obviously not compliance with the closing time by under any measuring stick. I'm glad that they were under capacity, which, you know, we see so much of that. But where we get to the gray area, and clearly he made alterations without, you know, any of these, in all of these charges, you have the same facts. But where it gets gray to me is I don't know what was going on in that closet. Whatever was going on was not authorized by management or condoned. And he made it very clear, and every dancer, every employee knew that there was to be no adult entertainment. There would be no lap dances, no dances at all of any nature. And so I don't know that that happened or not, but it's clear that they were open after 10 p.m., that they did not seek or did not have permission from the liquor board to do the alterations that they had put in previously. So I'll let you all shuffle or figure that out as to which, if not all charges, he will be found responsible for.
Okay. Do the commissioners have questions?
I have no questions.
The only question I have, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Savoy paid for the alterations. Who was the authority that fined him $500?
Oh, housing, the Department of Housing.
Okay. All right.
Because he did not have a permit issued for the work.
Okay.
So he hasn't paid the liquor board. But
Yeah,
he paid housing, yes.
Yeah, no, that's helpful to know. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So, Ms. Spiegelman, is there anything further you wish
Yeah,
to present?
just briefly. Mr. Savoy is under full control of the establishment. He regrets that he could not be there that night, and does feel that he may have been taken advantage of by an employee. And at the end of the day, he knows he's the chief. He knows he's responsible for it, and he's not going to let it happen again. I thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bundy, I don't think we need to call on the public until we get findings. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received today, I would find a violation of Rule 4.16 of the liquor rules on January 29, 2021, a violation of Rule 3.12, the liquor rules on January 29, 2021, violation of liquor rule 4.18, alterations on January 29, 2021, a violation of adult entertainment rule 3.01 on January 29, 2021, violation of adult entertainment rule 3.05 on January 29, 2021, violation of adult entertainment rule 3.18 on January 29, 2021, and a violation of adult entertainment rule 3.19 on January 29, 2021. This licensee only had the license since 2018 and was before the board in 2019 on different issues. He states that he wasn't present, and he understands that it's his responsibility and things were going quite awry in his absence. So I don't know how much he can trust his operation to Ms. Malone or others because it's already cost him $500 with the housing authority. It's going to cost him more with the liquor board. So my admonition to him would be to be much more attentive. But in any event, understanding all that and understanding some of the misunderstandings, I would impose $50 fines as to each of the violations, and I would give him 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Thank you.
Commissioner Guy, based upon the evidence presented and the testimony given by Mr. Savoy and the proffer of Mr. Fogelman, I will also find in violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, violation of Rule 4.18, alterations, violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.01, and violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.05, and violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.18, illegal conduct and code compliance, and violation of adult entertainment Rule 3.19, alterations, all taking place on January 29th, 2021. I'm in agreement with the fine of $50 for each offense. That's about my presentation on that.
Thank you. Based upon the charging document, the testimony, I too would find a violation of Rule 4.16. I find a violation of Rule 3.12. I find a violation of Rule 4.18. I find a violation of Rule 3.01. I find a violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05, as well as I find a violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.18. I find a violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.19, all having occurred on January 29th, 2021, and would concur with the imposition of a $50 fine for each violation.
Mr. Bundy, before we finalize the ruling, was there public comment?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any member of the public who wishes to testify.
Okay, and Mr. Fogelman, then it'd be a $300 total fine, 30 days to pay. Okay, and Ms. Russell, do we have?
250.
Yes. I'd like to call the exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Violation Report, Inspector Robinson. Board Exhibit 2, Governor Executive Order dated 1/28/21. Exhibit number 3, Mayor's Executive Order dated 1/22/21. Exhibit number 4, Baltimore City Liquor Board Guidance dated 1/21/21.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fogelman.
Point of clarity, Mr. Chairman, 7 violations were found with $50 each, so it should be $350, right?
I thought it was 6. I'm sorry. Yes, you're
That's,
right.
that's okay. I put 8 earlier, so you know it's a bad math day. 350 total.
Thank you.
Licensee will receive follow-up via mail with instructions on how to pay the fine. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to move to the final docket?
Yes.
The last item before the board today, second violation, is licensee Holly Dietrich Perez, Mi Canton Inc., trading as Mi Canton Restaurant, 2629 Washington Boulevard, Baltimore, Maryland 21230. Licensee holds a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license and does not have live entertainment ancillary privileges attached to their license. Licensee is charged with 3 violations of the liquor rules and regulations from the same incident dated April 10th, 2021, which is a violation of Rule 4.14, live entertainment without authorization, Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, Rule 3.12, general welfare. Licensee is represented by Mr. Kadensky, who should be still in the panel, and Inspector Tudhope is the representative for the Inspections Division.
Thank you. Mr. Kadensky, you identify yourself for the record, please.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky representing the licensee.
And will these be admissions or denials, Mr. Kadensky?
There'll be admissions.
Okay. You want to proffer an excuse?
I do. This is a restaurant, and they've been in business since 2018 without incident. There was a request to apply for live entertainment with the zoning, which we were in the process of doing. However, when COVID hit, the wheels came off the cart, and at this time, there was a birthday party for one of the cooks there, which probably shouldn't have occurred. And they had the entertainment as indicated, which they shouldn't. Mr. Heber Ruiz, who's the 100% stockholder, is here with me. He understands that we're continuing to apply for the live entertainment whenever we'll get it, but he knows until that is approved, that in no instances should have any type of live entertainment that is there.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, so anything further, Mr. Kadensky?
No.
All right, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, as well as your proffer and the admission as to each of the violations, I find a violation of Rule 4.14 on April 10, 2021, violation of Rule 4.16 on April 10, 2021, and a violation of 3.12 on April 10, 2021. And I guess I'll come back to the fine after we see if there's public comment. Commissioners?
Commissioner Guy, based upon the evidence presented and the proffer of Mr. Kadensky, I would also find in violation of Rule 4.14, live entertainment, violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, and violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, all taking place on April the 10th, 2021.
Based upon the charging documents, and the proffers from Mr. Kadensky, I too find a violation of Rule 4.14 on April 10, 2021. I find a violation of Rule 4.16 on April 10, 2021. And I also find a violation of Rule 3.12 on April 10, 2021.
Mr. Blendy, do we have who wish to testify?
Does any member of the public wish to testify on this matter before in the mitigation phase? Mr. Chairman, I do not see any member of the public who wishes to testify.
Okay. With respect to sanction, then, and I recognize that he hasn't had the license long, but he's got a clean history to date. I'd impose a $50 fine as to each of the violations. I think I have my math right this time. That's $150, and I would give him 30 days to pay. Do the commissioners concur?
Commissioner Guy, I concur.
I concur with the $50 violation, $50 fine for each violation.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
I call exhibits for the record. Violation report. I'm sorry, exhibit number 1, violation report, Inspector Tudhope. Exhibit number 2, Mayor's Executive Order dated 3/26/21.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kadensky.
All right. Thank you very much.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee will receive follow-up instructions on how to pay your fine via mail. Mr. Chairman, that concludes all matters before the board today.
Okay, we'll be back next week. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The board will be in recess until Thursday, May 20th, 2021. The board shall post on its website, provide notice to applicants and/or attorneys, and conduct a virtual hearing on these dates. please call our office at 410-396-4377 between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. with any questions or concerns that you have on this matter or any other. That concludes everything, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, all the liquor board staff and those who participated today. Have a nice day.
Do the same.